everybody, and welcome to the first episode of Miraculous Thinking in 2023. I'm your host, Elenique Marie, and with me, the beautiful Crystal Ann Compton. And today we have a bit of a change of plans on how
Yes,
we're
we
going to
do.
run this beautiful session here. We were initially going to be discussing Path of Light by Robert Perry. Yet, Crystal, you want to tell us about your story?
Well, if anybody follows along by actually getting the book themselves, then they probably have the same story, which is that for
Okay.
whatever reason, I can't get a copy of the book. And silly me, I thought like on Sunday or Monday, we record on Tuesday, I'd be able to pull the book on Kindle, download the Audible, but it wasn't available there either. Like I could not find a copy of this book anywhere. And so I know you mentioned last week, like, well, maybe this is a sign that we shouldn't be doing this book. And I thought, no, I'll get it. But I was unable to get it. And so I think that if I'm unable to get it, our listeners are probably unable to get it. And so because of that, we're kind of switching things up. We are not going to be getting into the Path of Light this month. We could have with you just kind of downloading us and telling us about the book, but we kind of like the interplay of both of us kind of being in the content at the same time. So
Yes.
instead, what we are going to do is start a different book next week. And I just ordered this book today. It's going to be here tomorrow through Prime, so I know you can get it. The book is called The Surrender Experiment, as Elenique and I discussed last week, which sounds like a beautiful book. It is also available on Kindle and it is available on Audible. So if you want to follow along, you absolutely can. We are going to begin this next week, not this week. This week, what we're going to do is just kind of have a conversation around one of the subjects that we love to organically talk about anyway, which is manifestation. And I think
Yes.
you can like go on YouTube and get books and you can have people who will say, well, in order to manifest, you got to do this and you got to do that, and then you get this. And that can be true, but we wanted to have kind of a deeper discussion about what's really involved with manifestation, what we're actually all really probably looking for, and how to get the thing that we truly, truly desire.
Exactly. I think like we discussed, I don't remember when we talked about the difference between like the Newtonian worldview and the quantum worldview. And I think a lot of times people talk about manifestation in a very Newtonian
Mm.
way, as if, add potatoes, stir in some water, ta-da, soup. And it doesn't work like that. It's
Mm-mm.
very quantum in nature. It's very vibratory. It's complex, and it begins and ends with you and your vibration. You are all of it.
Yeah.
And so we really want to talk about how do you deal with the allness of you, and how do you check in to see if your goals are really your goals, or things that you've been conditioned to think that you should have, or things that you think will give you something once you have them. But unfortunately, experience has taught us that once you have it, it doesn't usually bring you what you thought it would. So we hope that this is going to be interesting for you.
I think it
And
will. Let's just get real about
yeah,
manifestation.
let's do it. Let's
And
get real about manifestation,
all right,
Crystal.
we're
I
going to do it.
like it.
We're going to do it right
Okay.
now.
Now, I think the main thing for me that I've learned over time is that life, like we saw with the Kybalion, with Neville Goddard, is a dance between. It's a cycle. It's a coming and a going. It's a hot and a cold and all of that. And so, manifestation is the same, where there's a part where you're active, and then there's a part where you're passive. And I think that's a part that we forget. And there's things that affect that flow, among which are ideas such as divine timing. So maybe your timing is not divine timing, so it won't happen, and you're going through a wave that has a big gap, from
Mhm.
crest to crest. Um, but also we ignore the idea that it might just not be for you.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the hardest part, because we think we know what's best for us. And that's why I think it's so important to check in with that team that we have in spirit, with that humility. with humility. I have this way now that I'm praying where I say, um, with humility and love, I ask my team, too. And then because there's almost a sense of entitlement, I think, that we've been given sort of in the last years, like, well, you just tell your team what you need and let them. I mean, who are they? My secretary, my administrative
Mhm.
assistant? No, this is like higher beings. So even just the reverence that you come with that, and also the acceptance that perhaps they know better than you do what you actually need and what is right for you. I don't know what you
Yes.
think about that.
I think it's true. I've often told the story of how I met my now husband. It was after like a series of very painful dating relationships, and I was just so exhausted of it and so jaded by it and men in general. But I knew I wanted to be in love, but like I couldn't make it work for myself. I kept picking the wrong situation or just not seeing it clearly. It's crazy. You can be a very spiritual and intuitive person, but sometimes you just don't see it clearly if you're emotionally invested or tied to it. And that was my problem. And so it was New Year's Eve, actually, many moons ago, 2012. It was New Year's Eve, 2012. I stood atop a mountain in Boulder, Colorado. I was on another dumb date, honey, with this guy. It was actually a beautiful date. It was so beautiful, but the date was with somebody that was just not going to work for me. And I was in this beautiful dress, and I walked out on the mountain and I just said, I give up. Like I literally, I give
Was
up.
did your date hear you?
Yeah, no, I was out by myself. I was like, I give up. I realize that I might not understand at this level of where I am, what's best for me, who's best for me, or whether I should even be with somebody in the first place. Maybe I need a good solid 5 years to just work on myself, build something for myself, just focus in different areas, as opposed to wondering where is, when is it going to come, and be in the state of always wanting, needing, desiring. And so
Mhm.
I said, I give up, I surrender. And I know, God, that you know best for me. And I understand that you've got a different vantage point. Like God, source energy, that's as zoomed out as you can
Yes,
go. You
the
see
real
the
metaverse.
Absolutely. You see the whole timeline of
Ah,
my life. You also know what contracts I came in with. You also know what blueprint I have. You know what is best for me. And
mhm,
clearly, I don't necessarily always know that. So I give it over to you. And I'm telling you, Elenique, within 3 weeks, I was on my first date with my now husband, and bada bing, bada boom, here we are. But I
oh, I
had to
love that
I
story.
had to unhook from attachment. I had to stop thinking that what was on my vision board and what I had written out on my manifestation list needed to come. Like when I let that go, actually, the universe
Mm,
brought me even better, even higher. But it's funny because maybe 2 years earlier, I had written out a manifestation list of my ideal man, everything I wanted: how much he's going to make, what he's going to look like, how tall he is, the color of his eyes, where he lives, everything. I got as specific in a fun way, though, not
yes,
in like, you better give
right,
this to me, archangels. I've had
right.
enough of your bullshit. No, it was
Yes.
just fun. Like if I could build a man, what would he
Yeah,
be like? And then
yeah.
I took that list and I put it away in a nightstand somewhere. When I moved, I put it at the bottom of a box somewhere. And I think about a year after I was married to my now husband, I found the list. And wouldn't
Wow,
you know, check, 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 check.
everything
Not
was on
not
there.
everything,
Okay.
but a majority of what I had asked for, he was. But I,
Wow.
but I had let go of the list. I did it in fun,
Yes.
and then I let go of it. Order,
Mhm.
then wait.
That's it.
Yes.
And wait in faith, right?
Yeah.
And that's the part that you really that we have to learn how to do by training faith, like training in faith. And we talked about that last week, about how difficult it is to do the things that you know you need to do to be healthy, to be happy. The discipline to do simple things that, if you were to do them, would transform your life. So simple, just as your nutrition, walking and doing your exercise, not something crazy, just simple things that we refuse to do. And I believe it's because of some programming
Hmm.
and some blockages and some um, it serves a secondary gain.
To not
I
do
don't
it.
To not do it.
Okay.
So, for example, I've been studying, and I just finished actually yesterday. I'm really happy. I didn't even tell you about this. I was studying BQH, Beyond Quantum Healing,
Okay.
which does healings. It invites the higher self and the angels to come down, but it's based on Dolores Cannon's work of
Hmm.
QHHT. So it's a
Yeah.
kind of regression to past lives or present lives or parallel lives or future lives. So it's like all over the place. But it's really about working with that angelic team of the person that you're working with, higher team, to heal all of those traumas. Because sometimes, no matter how much you want to change, you can't change because you have some unresolved stuff from this life or other lives, you know? And the part that I found interesting was they said if you have a block in your life that you can't heal and you're not even aware that you have it, you are going to like weight. Like weight was one. Weight is one that I always struggle with because I just put on weight and take it off, and then I go through these extreme periods, and then I gain weight again. And they said, desiring to be heavy can be a protection from people, but it can also be a way of thinking that you can hide your light through levels of flesh. I had
Mm.
never heard that before. And I thought, yes, because how many of us haven't hidden our light over time? So many of us, so many of the people watching this podcast, and I believe that probably our tribe are people that have been told from the beginning, there's something wrong with your light. It's not good enough. It's too loud. It's too bright. It's not the right kind, right? So you're like, well, how do I deal with that? And if I'm a nightlight, I'm just going to start putting pillows in front of it and put a blanket on top of it. And so we think that it has to do with low self esteem. It has to do with not being safe to show who you are. And I never thought about it in that way until
Hmm.
now, until I took this course. And so I'm like, wow, yes,
Makes
that's an
sense.
interesting connection, right?
Most definitely, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, there are well, I do want to say before we get into like how manifestation works and how to do it, and maybe the way we want to have a mindset for 2023 is to kind of build upon something that you mentioned, when something's not meant for you.
Mm,
I kind of buy into the idea that we come here with a plan, and our life is a mixture of predestination and free will. Both of those things exist at the same time, which is kind of a strange idea. If we've got free will, then how can there be predestination? The way I look at it is I knew I came into this life to have certain experiences, to overcome certain themes and certain energies, and to amass lessons, put those in my toolbox to edify me as a soul. And no matter how much I want to manifest myself out of a challenge, if I've built that into my blueprint via predestination, I'm just going to have to experience it
mm,
until I surrender to the flow of that lesson, whether it's hard or whether it's happy, until I surrender to it and learn from it. I am going to be in it. You cannot talk yourself out of what we might call karma. It's just your lot in life. It's
mm,
just the way that it is. But it's here to teach you something. It's actually edifying your soul on some level. The sooner you can learn the lesson of it and integrate it, amass your tools, turn around, then shine the light from it, the sooner
mhm,
you can do that, the sooner you can move on. But so many of us get caught in cycles of trying to manifest our way out of it or wondering why it just can't happen for me. Like I know a lot of people, for example, with chronic illness and problems in the physical body. St. Paul even spoke about his thorn in his side. Like there was some sort of a health issue that he had that he just couldn't clear, no matter how faithful he was. That was in his blueprint. He had to learn how to be spiritual and connected around that, within that, and through that.
mhm,
And so I love what you're talking about, like feeling whether that is even for you in the first place, or the thing that you're to pray your way into, whether that's actually a fit for you, or
mhm,
are you just forcing the field? It kind of feels like what we were talking about in human design when you've got these different design types that are trying to act as other design types, like you're a
mm,
projector or a
yeah,
reflector, but you're trying to be a generator. Like
right.
that's never going to work for you. So stop
It's
pushing against it
totally
and just be who it is that you are.
like the profiles and the lines that we talked about, where you have the interpersonal lines and the intrapersonal lines. And
Mhm.
I am intrapersonal, which means that my destiny is tied to service to others, whether you like it or not. And there's nothing you can do. And if you try to go the route, it means there's some karma there. Like there's some karma of service that you have to play out for whatever reason, for either because of things that you did wrong or things that you want to learn, whatever they may be. But my favorite book in all of high school was The Scarlet Letter. Did you read The Scarlet
I
Letter?
did a long, long time ago, yeah, in high school.
Exactly. Let's not do the math on that. But but The Scarlet Letter for me was such an incredible book because to me it was a book about redemption and what we can do with with all the mistakes that we've ever made, which are not mistakes because we had to do them to become the people that we're meant to be. And she has that giant A for adulteress. And then by the end of the book, for everyone, it represents like an angel. It's like an A for an angel because she just throws herself into her karma. She
Mhm.
throws herself and surrenders into, okay, this is what I did. This is the consequence. Not that it was fair, obviously, but this is what it is. And what it is instead of her fighting it, she was like, I'm just surrendering to this. And how she then, through that, actually got true power because she got to tell her story and become, and then people even forgot what it meant. So I think that wouldn't it be beautiful if we could all do that? Like take everything that we think are our weaknesses, all the things we know where we could have been better, and actually utilize them as catalysts for humility and for real change and for patience to let something beautiful unfold, including us.
Mhm. Yes. But it's hard sometimes.
It's not easy.
Do you remember that video I made all those
Yes.
years ago
Yeah.
in my Jeep crying
No.
because something fell through that I thought that I had manifested? And I spent a lot of time in joyful manifestation thinking, oh, this is how you do it. I'm feeling it. It's the secret. I got it, right?
Yeah.
And at the last minute in the 11th hour, it fell all the way apart. And it was devastating on a lot of levels because there was a lot riding on this thing. And I felt so betrayed by the universe, by my manifestation angels. I just felt like hoodwinked, bait and switched. It was just, I was upset, upset, upset at God.
Mm,
And that was when God said, turn on the camera, which God sometimes does with me. And I'm like, I
mm.
don't want to do that. First of all, I have no makeup on and I'm a vain person. Second of all, I'm in my Jeep, just riding around. I ended up turning on the camera because what I ended up going through was a transit from one state of consciousness, which is the resistance, the railing against, all the way to acceptance.
Mhm,
And the way that I got there was through the example of Jesus.
mm,
Jesus on the cross, when he's mad, well, I presume to know when he's upset and he's like, Father, why have you forsaken me?
mhm,
Even though I'm not on a cross literally, and even though my issue is much, much, much less than the crucifixion of Jesus, of course, I can use the example of this, Jesus himself being so upset. Why is this happening to me? I did everything right. And then in just like a few short scriptures or words, he says, Father, please forgive them, for they know not what they do. And to you I commend my spirit. I give my spirit. So like, and in the sitting in my Jeep, I'm like processing Christ transit from one state
mhm.
of consciousness to the next. And it was the reason God told me to turn it on, because in the moment that I was actually talking about it, I totally got it. I totally got it that I had to change my state of connection, acceptance, and allowance. Right in that moment, I had to surrender. And wouldn't you know, the very next week, the thing that I wanted actually happened. It was better than the thing that I lost.
Isn't
It
that
worked out.
usually how it works?
I also got a little mad at God. I'm like, why do you have to put me through my paces though? Why do
Yeah.
I have to have snot running down my face in my Jeep on YouTube in order for me to get the thing? But for whatever reason, that's the way it played out. But that was just what it had to be.
Yeah,
And I just had to let go. And I just had to be okay with it. I
yeah.
mean, not happy about it, but just I allow this, I receive this, this is what it is, and I accept it. I will be done.
And that's the thing about God and whatever you wanna call it, source, spirit, father, mother, earth, whatever that word is to you, whatever that means to you. Um, it's my belief that manifestation is getting an entrainment with the energy of the creator. We entrain into the energy, whether through our own feelings that we cultivate to raise that vibration, like we talked about, or your mind and your brain trying to get into that theta state, because I do believe God is in theta. The monks meditate; they're sitting in theta. So, however you get to theta, and I think that Doctor, not Bruce Lipton, Joe Dispenza,
Mhm.
I think when people go to those retreats, they just do a lot of binaural beats and meditations and things to put people into theta. And that's why these miraculous healings happen. But prayer to me is also theta. And just this willingness to sit in God's energy and humility and with earnest, just like placing like a child, with that trust and being okay with that intelligence answering whether that is right or wrong for you. Because I think that as humans, there's this little ego that's always like saying, no, I know what's right for me. And that's usually the cause of most of our suffering. It's that little s self, that wants to decide things. Whereas what you're describing and what Jesus did and what all the great teachers and saints, what you see as a commonality is this just asking for guidance, not saying, God, I want a red car or a blue car or a red car, saying, Lord, I need transportation. Please arrange the best transportation that is possible and safest for me. Don't try to answer it. And I think that's what's my problem with goal setting right now is it becomes so specific as if you know more than God what you need.
Right.
And that's my only issue with it. Of course, like all things, it's the spirituality and the magic has been like squeezed out of it and reduced down. Just to,
Systemized.
yes, yes,
Systemized, which is why we love Neville Goddard's Isn't
yeah.
It Wonderful technique.
Oh,
Falling asleep in the feeling of Isn't it wonderful without hooking into something that's wonderful that you'd like, and
yes,
falling asleep and allowing the universe or the subconscious to create for you something wonderful tomorrow, because it does know best, and you don't have to stress about it. Because when we start thinking about all the things I need to have and where are my goals and what are my steps and what do I need, we start to get stressed out and in our human brain. But like the universe already knows all that. The universe is
totally.
the divine apparatus that knows how to serve you that in perfection. So if we
Yes.
if we give ourselves over to just isn't it wonderful, we really do open ourselves up to the miraculous.
And the miraculous in God and all of it lives in the subconscious. And that's the thing that I think a lot, I mean, it's in the conscious. God is in everything. I mean, we've had
Hmm.
this conversation, but um, I've been studying a lot more. What exactly is hypnosis? Like, I've studied it. I have like 1,000 hours of coursework on hypnosis, but like, I still want to get to, it's just such a mystery, right? What it is. And one person was explaining in a group that I joined, conscious mind is your little S self. Unconscious mind is your big S, and it is in the unconscious where we connect with our spirit guides, where we communicate with source, where we communicate. So we need techniques where we are able to put that little S self over there. And that's why meditation is so powerful, and hypnosis and all of that. So that we can, and it talks to us. The ideomotor response or the testing, the muscle testing that they do to know if a food is right for you. And like if your hand goes, it stays firm, it's okay. But if it goes down, it's like you're weak on it.
Hmm.
And I always used to think that was crazy. I was like, what? Somebody's pressing on my hand. But the other day, I actually saw a whole thing. And the person was just so accurate. Like the thing ended up being so accurate. I was in shock. Have you ever had that muscle testing?
Kinesiology?
Yeah.
Yes, I did go to a kinesiologist for a little while, but and I've talked to quite a few on my other podcast, and just that the work that they do, that it's all, and that just correlates so well with what I believe, just that the body is fully connected and is multidimensional. Actually, you think it's just
Hmm.
existing in this 3D reality, but it is multidimensional with you and has
Yes.
access to all of this information and truth All we have to do is ask. And you can do that through the muscle testing, which, yes, I do believe in. Now, I think your body can sometimes act as a pendulum. And if you want something really badly, which is attachment, if you
Yes.
want an outcome really badly, then like a pendulum or like dowsing rods, your body can give you a false positive.
Mhm.
So it's really about being able to be neutral
Yes.
and unattached to what is coming, where you get the right answers from the body. But yes, I do believe in it.
Did you hear that there's surrogates for kinesiology testing so that someone is in the room with you
Yeah.
and they're like muscle testing on this person that's like a
Mm-hmm.
medium or something that can connect with you so that so you can't cheat and you can't have that whole like
Yes.
willfulness. Isn't that
Yes.
interesting, this proxy situation? And that
Yes.
you can do that as well with hypnosis, like for children that are too little or for people that have, for example, Alzheimer's
Mm-hmm.
or dementia or mental illness that they really cannot go through hypnosis, you can have a proxy
Yes.
and do all these things. It's incredible.
Yes, there are remote kinesiologists that'll have you on session on a Zoom, something like this, and they'll be testing themselves because they're not connected
Yes,
or attached to the outcome, and they can get neutral, accurate answers.
exactly. I think that's incredible.
It is incredible. Well, so these are just things to think about before we set off on our manifestation journey. Like some things are just going to happen. It's about your state of allowance and your acceptance, the concept of thy will be done. And in the free will part, where you can create and manifest that which you seek or that which you want to be, like there is a bit of a process that you want to go through in order to do that. And I don't know what the percentage is, honestly. I feel like we're always creating no matter what. So even though I've got karma and a blueprint that I
Mhm,
am fixed to, I am still always creating in all these other elements of my life, and I can still control how I create.
mhm.
Right. So let's talk about manifestation and how it is that you do it,
Yeah.
because it's pretty simple, but not easy.
Exactly, and
Right.
that's ironic. But, something I wanted to say about manifestation before we start is that one thing that I've noticed in people when they create their list and flesh out their goals and is that you have to take action.
Yeah.
Like, it's not gonna drop out of the clear blue sky. There
Sometimes it
is
will, but it's
it
rare.
could, but
It's rare.
yeah, and usually because the process of doing the work makes you worthy of the outcome, allows you to get the most benefit from the outcome, right? And truly appreciate it and be grateful. So I think that that's something that I've seen a lot in people. It's like, well, I put it on my vision board. Okay, but did you take action? Did you build a website? Did you, take a course? Like, what did you do? Did you go on a diet or did you just keep eating
Exactly.
whatever and you wanted to lose weight? You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right. Yep.
So, but in terms of manifesting, I think that obviously we always want to start with a goal, right? Like getting very specific
You
about
have to.
what
Yep.
exactly we want. But you and I have been talking about how to do that differently, a
Hmm.
little bit differently, because the first thing is okay, you write down the goals that you have. Okay, these are my goals. And then what we would suggest is to take each one of those, read it to yourself, close your eyes, and check in with your body and notice if there's anywhere in your body where there's resistance or fear or a contraction, because that's going to tell you if you have a block. If you have a block to fulfilling that particular goal. And the block might be based on previous programming, like it hasn't happened before, why will it happen again? Or unworthiness, or whatever, a million things could be the reason. But if you have a block, chances are, no matter how much you put that on any kind of vision board, it's not going to work until you clear the block. And
Right.
so the first suggestion that I would have for that is to um, you can do some very beautiful just meditations of releasing and letting go. There's so many on YouTube. There's so many things you can use. But if not, you can work with uh EFT, like we said we wanted to do that episode on
Hmm.
tapping to really tap away that resistance, or even hypnosis. Like for me, it's just that it's so powerful. I never get tired of telling people how powerful it is to change your beliefs. That's what I think is step one for manifestation. What do you think about that goal setting? part of it?
Yeah, I think that you aren't going to get to your destination unless you know where that is,
Okay.
unless you have an idea. The Bible speaks about the people perish for a lack of vision. And also, there's that cool scripture that I always kind of paraphrase and misquote, but it's essentially states that God has spoken to the unseen thing. And in
Mm,
speaking to the unseen thing, it becomes seen. Interacting with the unseen thing as if it already was present and visible in your material reality is the key to making that unseen thing seen. So, but you have to know what that is in order to speak to it. You have
right.
to know what you're speaking into existence. You have to know what you're speaking life into. And we always are doing something like that. So I find in the way that I think that I can come up with some broad goals for myself or things that I would like to create a vision around. But I do like to focus on how I ultimately want to feel.
Mm,
So for one person that might be I would like to be financially independent with $1 million in my bank. That's great. I'd love that too. But what would that feel like to actually experience? What kind of liberation? And I could do anything I want. Look how creative I could be. I could buy all the clothes that I want. What kind of clothes would I buy? I try to associate or orient more with the feeling than the linear kind of human being goal. So my vision tends to be more emotional sometimes than
mhm,
actually specific. Like I need to have a Tesla or I need to have
right.
a
I need to have a
McMansion.
Tesla.
Yeah.
Make mention.
Because I know that God knows like
Uh,
the car that'll make me feel super sexy and wonderful. Like that got the breeze in my hair and I'm driving down the highway. God knows the best car for me. So if I focus on just being in a beautiful car driving down the highway, God will bring me the right car. But I can still put car on my
yeah,
list,
yeah,
but I
for
try
sure.
not to be too specific. I try to be more
Well,
emotional.
are you familiar with Connie Ray Andreas?
Mm-mm.
She created a technique called core transformation, and utilize it a lot in hypnotherapy. And basically, it talks about that we all have an ultimate core state. So when you say, I want to have that beautiful giant house, she would say to you, and what would come of that? Well, if I had the big house, then I could have all my family. Everybody could visit me. There'd be enough rooms for everybody to sleep in, and there'd be enough food for everybody to eat. Okay. And what would come of that? Well, then we would get to spend time together and we'd get to make memories and we'd get to know one another better and we'd feel safe. And what would come back? Well, then there would be love
Mm-hmm.
and everyone would feel love and everyone would feel safe and then eventually you hit something and then I would have peace. And when you say, well, what's higher than peace, and the person says to you, nothing. So ultimately the hunt for the perfect house was the hunt for peace, not
Mm-hmm.
for the house. And so why not begin with, if your ultimate goal is peace, is there a quicker, faster, better way to get to peace than chasing a multi-million-dollar house and working like a dog for 25 years, being miserable, trying to achieve the house, which was supposed to bring you peace, which only brought you stress? You know? Isn't
Right.
that how we work? And then we hit the end of our lives and we're like, why did I do this? I wasn't even happy. And it never even brought me what I thought that it would. And I can tell you, there is almost nothing physical I have ever had that after having it for a little while, I wasn't like, that
Yeah.
doesn't feel like I thought it would. You get used to everything. Humans
Yeah.
get used to everything, no matter how opulent you become used to it. Not to say that it's not great and nice and fun to have these, abundance, but it's just, it never actually gives you what you think it will.
So what would your suggestion be then if you're seeking to manifest something for 2023? Working that particular scale or how would somebody do that?
Well, I started to write down my goals and then ask myself, what would come of this? Like, okay, I want to work with Crystal and I want to create a retreat. And we know we want to do that.
Yeah.
And I was like, and what would come of that? Well, I would get to share time with Crystal and we'd be in the same place at the same time and just receive the energy from all of the participants and just feel supported and loved and like I had something to contribute. And so as I kept going and going, I was like, I just want to fulfill my purpose because if I fulfill my purpose, I can have some peace in my heart and some joy in my spirit. And then I was like, okay, I took that word, peace and joy, and I created these little lines and said, what other things give me peace and joy? And I was like, spending time with my son. You know what I mean? Like writing all these things. And I was like, okay, so can I get that feeling on a day to day basis with my little sub tier providers of joy and peace while I wait for the big joy and peace that will come? And as I sit in that vibration, it should actually expedite
Yes.
that which I really want to happen to come to us, which is the actual retreat, right? So
Right.
that's what I would suggest to people is take every goal that you have. I want a partner. Why do you want a partner? Because I want to have a good friend. Okay. Do you have a good friend currently that is not a partner? Let's nurture that relationship because I want to have company. Is there other ways for you to have or feel not alone while you wait for that person to come? Maybe it's a pet, maybe it's a roommate. Like, how can you start to give yourself some of these things as you wait for that to come into your life? Don't wait for one thing to come fulfill everything, but just feed yourself little bites of all of it constantly. And then eventually you'll already be in the vibration. So
Hmm.
that which you want will naturally come to you.
Right. And you only ever attract that which you are,
Exactly.
or that which you feel yourself to be, which
That's
is
the other
that's the
thing.
key.
That's
That's
even
the key.
worse. It's even worse.
Or if you're doing that though, like if you identify the thing that you want, I want to find my true love. And then you ask yourself, you take the road of inquiry down, and why do you want that? What do you want to feel? And you end up with peace, joy, fulfillment,
Hmm.
whatever that is.
Hmm.
You have two things there. You have the thing that you want to manifest, and we're putting our order in with the universe, and they've got it. The universe has got it. But you
Hmm.
also have the keys to how you want to feel once you have it. And now you're using those keys to look for it in your day to day life so that you can practice doing the things that already give you those feelings in a little way or a bigger way, making yourself a vibrational match for what you're calling
Hmm.
in, because the sooner you're the match for it, the sooner you're going to be able to attract it into your experience. That's profound, Eleni.
Yeah, it is. It really is. It's a way of stair stepping yourself, like we talk about so much.
Mhm.
Maybe we can't go from depressed to happy, but we can go from depressed to angry or depressed to
Mhm.
indifferent. You know
Right.
what I mean? Hey, that's better.
Yeah.
We're moving. And as we're moving, we're increasing our vibration. And something that came up in this reading that I really wanted to say, and this is my challenge this year, and I already don't do a lot of this because I learned the hard way that this is messed up, but gossiping or
Mm.
being around people that are talking negatively, as we explored with Miguel Ruiz and how words are curses.
Yes.
That is why I think gossiping is a curse. Because as we talk negatively about other people, or even just sit in the vicinity of people talking about somebody else, you're downgrading your vibration so heavily that you could have meditated for 8 hours. You stuck around by that water cooler listening to nonsense, and it is for naught, you know? And every time we do that, we attract more of that, more and more, and we lower our vibration. So one thing I am this year, I said I have a zero tolerance for discussing anything that is not myself with someone or what they wish to discuss with me. And as soon as anybody starts with it, I'm like, I'm not interested. I don't want to discuss anybody who's not in the room at all, period, for 2023, because I want to just see how high my vibe can go if I can just keep my energy, positive.
Clean. Yeah.
Clean. Yeah, I mean, and sometimes you're sad, and that's the other thing about manifestation and the process of manifestation. It's not easy. It's not without its bumps. It's like, when you go on a road trip or when you try to climb a mountain, you say, I'm going to go for a hike. And sometimes you got to put your ankle in a hole and you twist your ankle and you slip on some rocks, but you keep going. And eventually you get to the top of the mountain and you go, wow, man, if I had only known it was going to be this awesome up here, I wouldn't have even minded all those little pit stops and falls. And so manifestation is going to have its hiccups like life. And the trick is to not be discouraged, not to give up. That's why you need maybe a friend or a companion or a community that gives you that energy so that you can keep holding your vision and don't let anybody talk nonsense to you about your vision. If
Mhm.
somebody say, "I'm not interested. Thank you so much. I appreciate it." And bye-bye. You know what I mean?
And to that end, be very careful who you share your dreams with, who you
Mhm.
share your goals with, because as soon as you offer that, you are offering a pattern of energy, a creative pattern of energy that is seeking to come into the experience, but you're offering it to someone else who then connects to it. And what if they don't have the capacity to dream at your level? What if behind the scenes they're actually judging you? What if they're sending curses? What if they're not blessing the thing that you are trying to bring in to your experience? They're actually contaminating it. They're actually
Mhm.
making it more difficult for you to manifest and create it because you've partnered with them in telling them about them and telling them about your manifestation. So I always say just keep that really close to your chest. Really don't announce it until it's already got wings, it's in form, it's coming into reality, unless you really, really, really trust the person you're sharing with it and you know that that person has your best interest at heart and wants you to succeed and be happy. A lot of people don't want that for you. A lot of people aren't happy in themselves, so they can't be happy for
That's
you.
the thing. They want to be happy for you. I would say, 75% of people, like, I don't post anything personal on social media. Like, usually it's really just about work and things that I think I'm contributing. But um, because when you look at social media and somebody's showing you their dream life, their dream car, their dream body, their dream husband, their dream child, whatever. I mean, how many people have their dream everything?
They don't
And
even have it.
they
Right. They
don't.
don't. It's
And
a
you know
right.
what I saw? Some people, I've seen them take so many pictures. Like, I know they're fighting that day wherever I am. They're like the whole family's fighting. And then they take these pictures. And then 2 hours later, I see it on Instagram. And
Yeah.
it literally looks like a photo shoot for H&M, you know? And it's
Right.
like, Everybody's everybody's so happy, but they were about to murder each other, like, 20 minutes before, and I'm like, "Who are these people? Is this the same people that
Right.
I was with? Because I
Right.
don't remember it going down this way." And then we see it and we judge ourselves and find ourselves lacking, and then that engenders, um, envy or sadness or whatever, so it's understandable why people feel the way they feel, but the fact is that they do feel the way they feel, and how they
Mhm.
feel can affect you if you create a energetic link to them and to that which you're trying to create. Most definitely.
Right. Well, we do the Holy Agreements meetings from time to time where we just have a prayer circle and people come up and they offer what they need prayer for or what they are trying to manifest. And then the folks who can consciously and intentionally agree for the manifestation offer that agreement in order to amplify and accelerate the manifestation. Because when you and I agree on something, our Father in heaven is compelled to give it to us no matter what it is.
Mhm.
So curating the people that you actually share your burgeoning creation with is very important. Neville Goddard talked about that you didn't really even need to partner with somebody else or have them agree with you, that there is the higher you that exists, and then there is the human you that exists. And that is enough to create a holy agreement with your higher self and
Wow.
with you. You never really have to let anybody else in on what you're trying to manifest in order to get that amplification and acceleration. So
How cool.
this is a
I never thought
really
of that.
important point because the only way you get the agreement from the higher self, well, this is not the only way. Who am I? Absolutist. One of the ways you get this agreement from the higher self is through communion with or meditation and prayer. Making the time to spend in the inner world, having the conversation with the higher self or with God, and partnering with the higher self to come up with the vision for your life is the best way to do it. Because the higher self, again, has the vantage point, the zoomed out perspective of what is best for you. And going into session with your higher self or with God will give you what you can put on your vision board or put on your
Yes.
manifestation list. But you really don't need anybody else to manifest what you want if you want to work with something like a holy agreement or contract.
Yes, I think that this will be fun, to create a little meditation around to post after the fact for them.
Mhm.
Really like a journey to that high vibrational core state with that higher self. that they can, you can sit in that and wait for the answers to come to you about what should be on that vision board. What and the thing is, um, sometimes we also say, okay, when I get, let's say, the dream house, all these things are going to happen. Family's going to be close, and everybody's going to be happy, and everybody's going to be healthy. And then the question is, ask yourself that question: is having a house enough to ensure all these things? Because it's not. A house is just a house. And so also that I think is why people become discouraged, because they attach to things that they think is going to produce not only shelter, but then they attribute all these magical qualities to a house that are built through completely different means. Intimacy with the family is created by spending time with the family and listening and caring, right? It's not created because you're in a giant house. I mean, look at the royal family, exhibit A, right? If giant houses
Yeah,
created intimacy, this wouldn't look like this.
right.
And the more wealthy sometimes you see, the more dysfunctional that things are. So we set these goals and we never ask ourselves, can this really deliver the goal that I'm attributing?
Right.
So ask that higher self, tune in and say, higher self, is it really true that if I get that job, everything's going to get better? And higher self is going to be like, no, girl, because you got to deal with some low self esteem issues.
Mhm.
This job's going to be a nightmare because you're going to be saying yes to every assignment they give you. You're going to burn yourself out and you're going to get adrenal fatigue. So, no,
Mhm.
this job is not the best answer for your dreams.
And the thing is, anytime you ask, the universal law to me, anytime you ask, it shall be given. But you do have to knock in order for that door to open. You do have to
Mm,
ask the question. You have to also be present in the space that supports the communication, which is meditation or kind of a different or altered
exactly.
brain state, in order
Hmm.
to ask with the intention and receive the answer. But if you can do that, if you can take that question or that query into meditation, God will answer you every single time. God will answer you. So, meditation is so important. Having a connection to the inner world and taking that idea into like a creative session with higher self or with source energy and
Yes.
seeing what comes from that, partnering in that way.
I love that. A creative session with higher
Yes,
self. I love
yes,
that.
yes.
Um, some questions, some feelings that we tend to look for. I made a little list, and the listeners and the viewers can maybe check in with themselves. Is these are some of the ideas that we want, things we want to be, or things we want to have, or things we want to feel. And we use a lot of different things like being thin or having that car to fulfill this. We most of us want to feel valued. And so we look for ways to feel valued. But how can I truly feel valued if I don't value myself? So, step one would be, how do I heal that in me, which doesn't feel valuable? Because if not, you're a hostage to whoever will make you feel valued. I want to feel appreciated and respected. Like these are core things, but yet we don't give
Hmm.
it to ourselves. Like you're saying, there's a high, high self and a little self, and we're not getting it from anybody. We're not even getting it from the high or the low. Love. So we hide behind a lot of things because we think they're going to give us love. Acceptance and belonging, to be seen or known or recognized. Isn't that the biggest one? Like, I mean, just to be seen and really seen for who you are. And so because we don't feel seen, we can act out and do all kinds of things, even just to get negative attention because you feel invisible. And then, of course, there's safety and security and comfort. So just to think about those things and see, which one of these things do I feel that I crave and I don't have? And then start with the question, can I give it to myself? Start there. Because if you're looking for it out here, you're never going to get it. It doesn't exist out here. Anything out here can disappear, can be taken away. Only that which is inside of you belongs to you and is eternal because it's you. So I just wanted to put that out there to really examine those and just see where you're struggling, where is your desire at?
Mm, I love that. And it really does show how manifestation is not just a vision board. It's not just a one and done kind of a ritual that you walk away from. rituals are a part of it, but it's really this layered understanding of self and what's in the subconscious and what's in the body via epigenetics and ancestral stuff, and like where are the obstacles and why do they exist, and how can I love myself into a new understanding of myself. Like that's where like if you can do those levels, if you can be willing to create the space for that, get into meditation around that and really do these levels of work, exploration, adventuring, that's the key. Because once you start clearing all that, your vibration naturally begins to raise. When the vibration raises, that's when you start to manifest things at a higher level, because again, you only ever attract that which you are or feel yourself to be. But if inwardly
Mhm.
you feel yourself to be invisible, unlovable, unattractive, and all these other things, well, then you're only ever going, well, you might manifest sometimes, but that sub signal of the subconscious is always working to kind of knock that manifestation off its track. You got to deal with the sub signal. You
Yeah.
have to deal with the subconscious patterning or the unconscious patterning in order to create a clear channel to call in what you want. That's so
Mm.
important, right?
It is. It's the core of it. I mean, that's why you see so many. I think we've talked about this before, the people that win the lottery and then a year later they
Mm-hmm.
have no money. And you're like,
Right.
"How is that possible? How did you go through $40 million?" You know, like, how did you do it?
Well, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Wanted to
Tell
Well,
me.
I want to, if you don't even have to win the lottery to know whether you're going to have a problem with the lottery or with money. If you have a problem with money, all you have to do is take a few breaths, get into a neutral space, and then envision yourself winning the lottery and see where your mind takes you.
Mhm.
Some people will be, oh my gosh, I'll be able to buy a home for myself. I can put my son through college. I can pay for my mom's debts. I can do all of these beautiful things. I can create this beautiful life. And then there are the people who'll be like, oh, I know my family's going to want money. How I'm going to have to be, I
Yes.
can't announce it to anybody. If I have to take a picture of the lottery check, I'm going to have shades and a little cap. Nobody will recognize me. I know my uncle's going to try and take my money. That's their way of thinking about it because they
Mhm.
have a strange relationship to money. Just envision yourself in the space of, what if I did have that? And
Mhm.
see where your mind takes you, because that reveals a lot about where your obstacles and your
Yeah.
subconscious patterning.
That's where your blocks are. You'll see it right away. If there is
Mm-hmm.
a resistance or a contracting, I feel like the body and that sense of contraction
Mm-hmm.
is like like it just tells you right away, you have a problem with this. Don't you see that there's just people that just come into the room and you contract? I
Yes.
have people like that. They step into the room and I just feel like all the parts of me go, like a
Mm-hmm.
transformer, like Bumblebee turns back into Bumblebee. I'm like, no, no, Transformers go down. Like I can't. And there's not a lot you can do. If only we were Bumblebee, right? And we could
Right.
just, but energetically we do. And so the energetics of it are telling us something in the body is not okay with what's happening. Something in the subconscious is not okay because the subconscious is utilizing the body to tell you something's not
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Right. It's all
It's the
connected.
don't go down the dark alley and you get the knot in your stomach. Subconscious is like, there's a dude with a knife down there. Don't go in
Mm-hmm.
the dark alley, right? So it's just, I think that what we fail to understand sometimes is that the subconscious is really that higher self. It is conditioned, it can be conditioned. There's a dark, let's say, the underbelly of the subconscious, which is the part that holds all of these life lessons, karmic imprints, whatever. But then there's the part of it that is the connection point to the divine and to the highest expression of ourselves. And so the trick is, which one do you live in? Which one are you hanging out in? And then really trying to learn how to stay in that higher aspect of your subconscious.
Right. I mean, it's a journey. I think we all
It
came here
is.
to learn how to do that. I think manifestation is predicated upon your concept of self.
Totally.
I it well, of course, because you yourself are always creating. So if your concept of self is flawed, if you don't know yourself to be the divine being that you truly are, Jesus said you are all gods. If you don't feel yourself to be that, you are going to be creating from the level that you feel yourself to be. And only you know what that level is. And
Hmm.
but you know what? You can get a hint of what that is by looking at your life. and seeing where things don't work for you. So if all of your relationships are crap, or all of your boyfriends suck, or there's not enough money in your account ever, or if your health is always, you're having issues here and there, like, you can look at what's going on in your life to get a glimpse to see what your concepts of your own self happen to be. Do you feel yourself to be lovable? Do you feel yourself to be wealthy? Do you feel yourself to be healthy? Do you feel yourself in a embodied way to be creative or creator? When you feel yourself to be in alignment with that which you really are, then you've got it. That's the ticket, my friend. Now you're
Hmm.
manifesting according to your divine self. That's where we all need to get. Of course, here we are as humans. It's a little difficult sometimes, right?
Well, it's not easy. And, it's again, like the Kybalion said, there's a mysteries you will never know the answer
Mm-hmm.
to. And we waste a lot of time, I think, trying to figure them out, thinking that did you see that new software, Open Chat,
Yeah,
Open AI,
I've
chat dot open AI?
I've
My
heard
husband,
stuff about it. Yeah, what is that?
so it's like Google on steroids, and it's an AI that you ask questions to, like a chat, like if like a chat bot, but like you ask it any question and it'll tell you, like you'll say, does Reiki really work? And it doesn't just give you like, here's what I found on the web. No,
Right.
it's like an analysis, like if you're talking to a person telling you the whys and the why nots or whatever, like you can ask any question under the sun. And this thing just starts typing, and then you can ask a follow up question and then it responds. It's really interacting. Very scary because it's intelligent. There's an
Mm-hmm.
intelligence there.
Yes.
And I was like, I don't know what we're going to do for a living in 10 years. Like,
Right.
I don't even know. I suddenly felt really dumb. I was like the dumb kid in class. The AI made me feel really bad, but I get it. It's the future, but as we look around at this new world that we're all stepping into, and creativity and creation and vibration and all of that, it's going to be more important than ever, because these new things that are coming into the forefront are really out of the human experience. Like, think about it. We have just been humans doing human things on human earth with nothing else higher than us for all this time. We're in the cusp of something that's never been seen, at least not in this cycle of creation of whatever it
Mm-hmm.
is. Maybe this
Mm-hmm.
whole universe will blow up and start over and this whole thing will happen again. But until then, what do you think about that? I'm sorry that I totally derailed
No,
there,
no,
but
no.
I was just thinking about, my husband said
um,
that to me. It freaked me out.
I think that uh, that sounds like a digital oracle, right? I
Hmm.
think that there's the light and the dark of it. I think I was telling you that I asked my brother what he thought of transhumanism, this idea that you can upload your consciousness to the cloud. And he's like, I love it. I'm
I
like,
love it.
what? That sounds like hell. And that sounds
Yeah.
terrible because some corporation is going to own the cloud and they're going to convince you to upload your consciousness and then they're going to use you as a slave or something. It's just like,
Right.
how can you not
Right.
see all of the problems with this? Um, I There are so many different ways that we can go. I I don't have confidence in the human track record of
Right.
integrity and ethics and love. I don't feel like we're there yet. I think it's coming online too soon. And
Right.
so, and there's not enough fail safes in place to make sure that it's applied and used in the right way. So, inevitably, I do think it's going to land in the wrong hands and be used against people. I
Mm.
don't, I, I don't think we're ready for it, honestly. But here it is. Here we are. And I think that's why a lot of us are here, embodied souls in as people,
Hmm.
because I feel any shift that needs to take place has to happen now. Is like the time is now. Because I think we're what, maybe 10 years out from having Neuralink, having the
Hmm.
AI hooked into
Hmm.
our own brain, which is what
Hmm.
Elon Musk wants to do. Like we're 10 years out from that. It's not a long time, my friend.
It's not. I don't know. It's a brave new world for sure. And there's so many things that I don't understand. And like you said, I feel like we are just waking up to who we are
Mm-hmm.
in this world. Like, and so hopefully, like you said, it's enough. Like, hopefully, it's enough to balance what has already been set in motion. And yet, all of it will be as it's meant to be and as it is. And there's no point in getting upset about it because what is, right?
Definitely. And I don't think that it should be like this apocalyptic
Right.
disposition. I think that it's more adventure. I think on a soul level, we're like, oh, tag me in. That's going to be fun.
It's
Like
gonna be
let's
interesting.
get the light workers out down there.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah,
start shining the light.
for sure.
But I don't. The timelines are always switching. The timelines are always changing. So who knows what's going to happen in the next few years? But that's obviously very meta. And I think we should address the fact that there are a lot of people that are scared about 2023. Just looking back over the last 2 years, I mean, why wouldn't you just be
Mm,
like, here we go again? What's this
mm.
year going to bring us? War, pandemic, politics, all of the things that we've been going through. I think people are a little nervous to even feel like they could create something good for themselves or have like a blessing and a bounty in this new year. But the reality is that you can. And the reality is that you will if you, again, adjust your divine concept of self. And please don't make the mistake of buying into the illusion, because the illusion is ever telling you who you are and how you should be and how much money you should make and how much you should weigh and what you should look like and what kind of friends you should have and what kind of car you should drive. The illusion is always going to be telling you this through the function of technology and social media. Don't make the mistake of identifying with the illusion as truth. This is why Jesus said the kingdom of heaven is actually inside of you. It's not on your phone. It's not in the words of somebody else telling you who you should be. The answers are inside of you. And so, if you really do want to manifest something specific or even general for yourself that is good, you have got to go inward to do that. Don't over identify with the lie of the illusion. And it's hard
It's very
because it's
hard.
sticky, it is
It is.
thick, and it's always lying.
It is. It's always utilizing fear. I always say whenever I see something like, um, makeup commercials, and it's like, getting old is not okay. Having a
Yeah.
wrinkle is not okay. Having a blemish is not okay.
Hmm.
Well, if it's not okay, why does the body do it?
Right.
Like, it is what is happening. It is happening because it is what happens. So how is it not okay what happens? And so it's like you're waging this war against the natural flow of life, against aging. I mean, something so innocuous, like oh, is she born with it? Maybe it's Maybelline. Well, no, it's definitely Maybelline because she doesn't look like that when
Right.
she wakes up in the morning. Nobody does. And yeah, we can look at the beautiful, fun part of it, like, oh, it's nice to be creative and create your own, style with makeup. And I love makeup. Like, so don't get me wrong.
Hmm.
But it's just sometimes it just feels like you're a hostage to it.
Well, underneath it all, it's requiring conformity. It's requiring
Yeah.
you to adhere to what it says the truth is. And if you don't, what you lose is connection to the collective, which the illusion is telling you is not what you are, or not who you are,
Right.
or not how you think, or how you believe, or how you vote, or what your skin color, whatever it is that makes you different. It requires conformity. So to be not what you authentically are. And what you authentically are is not okay. It's not beautiful, which is absolutely antithetical to what God tells us about ourselves. That we were created with intention. We were created. In Jeremiah, God says, I knew you before you were ever in your mother's womb. Did I know you? And did I plan for you? I planned a future for you and a hope for you. Like I saw you. I love
Mm.
you. That's how special and unique you are, just as you are. But that's kind of a radical idea in this present day to believe in yourself like that.
And I think that that goes to that point of those questions that I raised about what is it that we want out of life, and that being seen, known, or recognized, I think comes from that. Does we've forgotten that we have this loving God, this loving father, mother that has wanted all those things for us, that does know us intimately, but we don't know him or her anymore. And it's that emptiness that drives all of this behavior, as if you're saying, look at me, look at me. I'm here. I'm valuable. I'm
Hmm.
valuable.
Mm-hmm.
And your value has nothing to do with the way you look or what you do, or if you're rich or if you're poor, or it has nothing to do with that.
It has currency in this illusion. I
In
mean,
this
it has,
illusion, it does,
right.
and that's the problem.
That is the problem, is
We
the overattachment
forget
to the
that
illusion.
there's two levels to it, like you said, and we talked about when we talked about Neville and the Kybalion. There's reality on this in the illusion, so don't jump off a bridge because you will die
Mm-hmm.
in the illusion. But then there's ultimate reality, for which this is no longer real. But as you are in the illusion now, you have to act according to the laws of the illusion, or be very brave and be able to just be an outlier and a rebel and a radical in your own way, which even just trying to let your hair be gray as a woman
Mm-hmm.
seems to be some sort of political statement,
Mm-hmm.
where you're like, well, I'm okay with getting older. And everybody's like, when are you going to dye your hair? That just, women don't look good with gray hair. Men look distinguished
Mm-hmm.
because I started getting gray and not a lot. Actually, I mean, for my age, I was like, I hardly have any gray hair. But then everybody's like, you have those 7 gray hairs. When are you going to dye them? And I'm like, but why? Well, women just don't look good. And this is from like my most woke male friends too, which are like, and I'm like, are you really saying this to me? Like, I'm like, you are part of Oprah's book club. Like, how are you
You
saying
should
this
know
to me?
better,
You
right?
should know better. I'm going to send a letter in there to have it revoked, whatever. But yeah, it's just sad that and women get it hard.
Women get
Men
it
get it
very
hard
hard.
too, but
I mean,
women
I
get it.
I have a couple of friends who have stopped shaving, like their private parts, their underarms, their legs. They're just like, well, if a man doesn't have to take a trimmer down there and take care of everything, why do we have so many beauty standards imposed upon us? And I mean, we're going off on a bit of a tangent, but like
Total
it
tension.
does require conformity. It requires you
Hmm.
to play along in order to get along. And I
Yeah,
think what true spirituality is that renegade impulse. No, I am a child of God. Come as you are. Whitest God, and God
come
makes you
as you
white as
are.
snow, and all of this. So, and I know we're talking about manifestation, but truly I believe that when you understand yourself in this way, exactly as God created you to be, that is the start of manifesting what you really want. And you don't have to know exactly what it is that you want. If you just know yourself and feel yourself in this way, that you are special, that you are loved, that you are divine and more powerful than you have lived thus far, if you can feel yourself to be this way, now we're really manifesting wonderful things. Wonderful things for ourselves. But the problem is that people don't feel themselves to be this way. Feeling is the secret. That's the second and most important part of manifestation. First, you got to know what you want, and then you have to feel it. And if you can't feel yourself to be the specific thing, at least feel yourself to be divine. At least figure out how
Yes.
you can feel yourself to be truly loved and truly blessed and a child of God. And you can do that in a variety of ways, through meditation, through fellowship, through study, through listening to podcasts like this, through reading
Mhm.
books and things of that nature. There are many things that you can do to feel yourself as the divine being that you are. Once you've got it, though, in an embodied way, which is a vibration, and you have your vision, the thing you want to manifest because you know what it's going to give you emotionally and energetically, now the subconscious can receive it. And once the
Yes.
subconscious gets it, that's your order. It's being taken to the back kitchen. They're making your food. The question is, how are you going to act while you're waiting? How are you going to act while you're waiting? Are you going to continue to be joyful? Are you going to continue to be in states of love and play and flow while you're waiting for your burger to come out from the kitchen? Because that continued vibration ensures that you get more. And this is why I loved what you started with, which is identify the feeling that you get once the manifestation comes, and then find ways now in your day to day mundane life to give it to yourself now, because that's what makes you that vibrational match.
Totally. I
Good
think,
stuff.
yeah, it's good. It's good stuff.
Well, I mean, it's not typical like the secret stuff. Like it's not typical manifestation
No.
systems that you will get. It's like you've got to deal with your stuff. And I mean, that's the beginning and
You
the end
do.
of it. You've got to be
And
willing to look at yourself.
you know, when they say that in order to manifest, step one is to clear the clutter of your house and declutter and whatever. You got to declutter yourself.
Uh-huh.
You got to declutter yourself and your cobwebs and your dirty laundry and your, you know, all the things that hang in the closet of who you are and all the beliefs that are holding you back. So that's why I meant, like, really look at that list and say, what am I trying to get through all of the things that I do to be accepted? Why don't I feel accepted? Why can't I accept myself to be seen? Why am I afraid to shine my light? Why am
Mm-hmm.
I afraid to see myself as I am? To be known. Why don't I know who I am? Why do I need other people to reflect back to me who I
Mm-hmm.
am? So, all of these questions, if you are honest with yourself and you're really ready to do the work, and it's not even work, it's a process of uncovering and remembering. You can do it at your own pace. There's nobody grading you, you know? But we're afraid to do it sometimes, or we think that because the pressure to conform is so great from the
Mm-hmm.
outside that you are judging yourself by somebody else's belief system, standard, whatever. And that's why we got to just pull that energy back in and be like, no, what do I feel? What do I need? And work from there. And then the desire will be authentic, and if the desire is authentic and aligns with who you are, then it has to be yours. There's no way that
It
it
is
can't be.
guaranteed. Yep. It
Hmm.
will be yours. It already is.
It already is.
Ah, good stuff. I know this is not the sexy part of manifestation. Like, oh, you got to deal with your stuff. You got to make the time to meditate. You got to
Yeah.
actually ask yourself the question. You got to look for it in your body. But like, it is the key. Like, getting that into alignment is the key to really manifesting everything that you want. And you'll find that when you start to clear and attune what you thought you wanted, you don't want anymore. It really does
You
simplify.
don't want it, and
It
it's
simplifies.
crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy how that happens because the things that you wanted were usually driven by some externalized thing. So many things. Like I remember, I was like, I need to get a PhD. I need to do this, that. At a certain moment, I was like, for who?
Right.
For who? What is this? Is this now I can prove to myself and the world that I'm smart? Only then? Only if there's a DR dot
Right.
in front of my name. So all these things that are like indoctrinated belief systems, things you were told. And so you never finish perfecting yourself. And who are you perfecting yourself for? If not for yourself, only I should perfect myself to my standard. And when I do, then I won't care about anybody else's standards. And that's freedom.
That's freedom. That's freedom.
Yeah.
Well, good talk, Elenique. This is what I love. And
Good.
I'm wondering as we're talking, I'm like, we should build in sessions in the podcast outside of books where we just
Agreed.
talk topics. Like, because like, even if it's EFT or if it's, I don't know, whatever the topic is, because I think that that would be fun. And I think there's so
Yeah.
much information and knowledge that you have to offer that I need to hear, and
Oh,
when we like
and
just pick a topic we love, I mean, we could spend all day talking about it.
did you watch that movie Best in Show really
Oh
long
my
time ago
God, I
about the
love
dogs?
it.
When
Yes.
she's like, we could talk or not talk for hours and still find things not to talk about.
I love Best in Show. It's wonderful.
It's one of my favorites.
Oh,
I think we should utilize this as part of our surrender experiment, Crystal,
okay.
because I don't think it's a coincidence
Yeah.
that we said last week that we are going to go on a surrender experiment where we're just going to see what life brings to us and flow with it. And then we couldn't get the book.
Right.
And then we ended up having a very loose conversation about
Mm-hmm.
things that we care about. And now it's been even more fun than ever. So I think we have to sprinkle in and go with where spirit is taking us and just go where the joy is. And where the joy is usually where happiness and prosperity and success follow.
Well, then we want it.
Yeah, we want
That's
it.
what we wanted to.
Give me
Um,
two.
yes, I'll take two of those for sure. Okay, well, so next week we start the surrender experiment, which we talked
Yeah.
about surrender today and how important it is. Crystal in a red flowy dress on a mountain, honey, just surrendering on a terrible date. It worked.
Very dramatic.
Very dramatic.
Gone with the wind.
Please, Lord, I surrender. But we're going to talk about the surrender experiment, and by the sounds of it, it sounds like there's a process that we work to go
It's
through.
his story, and
Okay.
so it's really, about him, but I think what we can do is to pull out what the hidden process is
Yeah.
through the journey, and because that's where I struggled when I got to the end of the book. I told you I wrote to them and I'm like, "Yeah, but what are the steps?" And they're like, "There are none. Just be present, just relax." And I'm like, "I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do that." So, we can pull out for our audience, how do you do this surrender process? If we kind of, reverse engineer
Yeah.
Mickey's journey, that'll be fun.
Oh, I love it. That sounds great.
Yeah.
Okay, so we will be back next week with a beautiful discussion about this. Go out and get the book if you have time. Again, it's on Kindle and Audible, or you can get the paperback. And until next time, everybody, we've got nothing but love. We will see you in the next podcast. Bye bye.